Hi YouTube, Kristina here, or Miss Bunny Ears. Just me today, which is probably like a huge sporadic difference versus me filming with Leslie. I'm here to talk about all the books that I read while I was on vacation in Hawaii. Now I know on my channel I talk about being in Hawaii for like 4 months, and I decided after being there for 3 weeks that I was done with Hawaii. I want to come back home. I miss home. I am back much earlier than I planned. However, I did read quite a lot while I was in Hawaii. I worked at Barnes & Noble for the whole time being, so I got discounts on books, and I can't help it. Technically I was on vacation, and I couldn't help not to read on vacation because I'm a huge reader. Obviously I have a booktube channel, so yeah, let's get into it. Now, the first book I read was Ask the Passengers by A.S. King. Now, this book was so adorable. Leslie had picked out this book, and she told me that one of the books that she loved to death was this book. And it is a contemporary novel about this girl who she sits outside in her backyard and sends love up to the airplanes that pass by. Sounds really corny, but it's actually like the sweetest thing ever. Whenever a passenger, whenever the planes go by, she sends up her love and says, "I love you, I love you, I love you," and tells her secrets to the planes that she's too afraid to confront to herself and her family members and her friends. And what's actually really cool about this book is not only do you get perspectives of her and her story currently, you also get perspectives from passengers on the airplanes that fly by. That's really cool. This is like the sweetest thing, and her secret, I think it's told in the beginning, but I don't want to spoil anything. Anyways, so one of her biggest secrets that she has not yet faced or told anyone that she loves is that she's in love with a girl. And so I read this probably the first day on my trip, and it is so cute. I actually filmed a video on this, but since it's like really shaky and ridiculous, I decided I'm not going to post that video. But it like touched my heart. I thought it was the sweetest thing, and for me and where I am in my life, like, it helped a lot to get perspective on the topic of loving other genders and loving the same gender and finding yourself in where you fit and what's normal versus like what should be normal. It talks about the topic very prominently, and I liked her view on the matter because she really sees it as more of like, I'm not sure how I feel. Later on, of course, there's a lot of revolution, a lot of talk about what happens, and she kind of figures things out, which is really awesome. This is everything I needed to read, honestly, where I was in that time of my life, and it helped me a lot, like, figure out things for myself. Just, who is this person that I call Kristina, and where do I want to go, and what do I believe in? So I felt like this was really good for myself, personally. I loved it. I rated it either 4 or 5 stars. I personally will definitely read this again. It was the cutest thing ever. And it wasn't like corny in the sense that it's bad, that it's like childish. It was just a good amount of corny where it like makes you feel warm and happy and asks a lot of questions personally. So there's that one. Now, the next book that I read on my vacation was The Princess Saves Herself in This One by Amanda Lovelace. Now, The Princess Saves Herself in This One is actually a poetry book. And I've noticed on my trip that I'm really drawn to poetry. I love poetry in the past, don't be wrong. I write poetry myself. But during this trip, I really went to my roots and just started picking up more poetry to read. And now where I am, it's May, I've decided that I need to be reading more poetry because I really enjoyed reading it. This one is just, like I said, a string of poems, and it is all like the same sense of like saving the person that you are. And there's a lot of tragedy in the beginning, but I love how the author, kind of like in Milk and Honey, she goes through all the tragedy and she picks at your emotions, and it's very raw, but near the end starts like overcoming it and finding yourself and finding peace with all the tragedies and working past it. And I thought it was so lovely, and honestly, you can't go wrong with a good poetry book that tears at your heartstrings. I very much recommend this to people. Not everyone's going to like poetry collections, not everyone's going to have an open mind when it comes to these things, but I definitely recommend, if you love poetry, pick up Princess Saves Herself in This One, and you'll not be disappointed. Fun fact, too, is that I got this at Powell's during the Powell's 30% off sale, and there was only 1 copy. I remember I had gone to Powell's a couple days before the sale, because that's how I found out about the sale, and it was gone. So I was so happy that it was there, because this is a very hard book to find. I don't know why, but it's not easy to come across in bookstores. I don't know if it's just like she like published herself or something or whatever, but it's not easy to pick up. Now, the next book that I read on vacation is A Tale for the Time Being by Ruth Ozeka or Ezeka. Now, I know that a couple of YouTubers have picked this one up. I know that I think it's a book reader. I could be butchering them, but I'll link their channels down below. I know that one lady that I followed to death, she's the sweetest girl ever. She picked up this book. And then another one, JKISSA, I love her as well. She just recently posted a video, I think today actually, about she hauled this one. Now, I was during my vacation, as I mentioned just previously. This is about Nail on Now. She, her diary was in a Hello Kitty lunchbox that washed up into this island. And it's got both perspectives of reading through her Naira's diary, through her voice tells her tale of her story, and as well as the person on the island who's reading her story. Basically, in the diary, it talks that she's a tale for the time being. This is not a spoiler because this happened like the first few pages, but basically, she's going to talk about why her life ended. I had very mixed feelings on this book because I feel like this book tried to be different kinds of things all at once. And, you know, in the beginning part, I felt like if she had stuck to the author stuck to the first half of the book and made it prominent through the rest of the book, it would have been a solid, like, 5 stars for me because it was that good. I was deeply enthralled in Nao's story and figuring out what happened to her and why she is the way that she is. But she starts mixing, like, magical realism into the ending and starts, like, messing with your mind, the characters, and in the end, it's completely different from what I was expecting and what I wanted. So, I do recommend to read this because it is beautiful writing. I loved reading about the story. I could vividly, like, picture in my mind what was going on. Plus, Nao is hilarious. I love her character. So I recommend you read this, even though there's some flaws I don't like about it, about how it's like very different things. It kind of confused me near the end. I was like, so it's not like this? Even though those flaws are prominent and something that I really wish weren't there, I still find this a beautiful book. I loved a lot of the things that were said. I think they touched my heart very deeply. I want Leslie to read this book because I feel like she would very much appreciate it. So don't take my thoughts and say I'm passing on this one because I very much believe if you're at all interested in this, definitely read it. It is worth the read. I'm sure that even if you don't like it, it is worth trying to pick up because it is something that I loved. I loved it. I did love it. Yeah, so that was a tale for the time being. I don't have much more to say about that one. It's hard because I have such mixed feelings on the matter that if I were to just go off of one feeling and explain that, I couldn't tell you all of my feelings. It's good. It's really prominent, very detailed, very enthralling. You want to know what happens to the characters, but because it's trying to be so much versus like being fiction and then being magical realism and then being like this and then completely changing the whole plot entirely at the end, I feel like because it was trying to be too much, it docked a couple stars for me. And it was kind of a letdown at the end because I'm like, oh, so this happened. But the magic realism, you might like that a lot. Because, and it's a kind of different ending story, how they change it, make it very magical, realistic. I love it, ending story, by the way. I love it to death. So does Leslie. Because it's like that, if you like the never-ending story, you love magical realism, you may very much appreciate this part in the book. I just, however, felt like it didn't have a place in the storyline, and it was trying to be too much. The next book I read, now, be prepared, I am a YouTuber, but I don't watch famous people YouTubers. I do watch, like, Jenna Marbles, but as far as, like, people who are famous, I don't typically watch them. I don't know if it's because I just think they're fake or whatever. Not that everyone's fake on YouTube. But I like more local people, more people like me who don't have a lot of followers, who do pretty interesting things or talk about books or whatever. So I picked this up because the cover was gorgeous and the whole premise sounded interesting. I, however, did not know that this author of this book is a YouTuber and that it's getting a lot of fame, this book, because of the YouTuber just coming out with this novel. And the book I'm talking about is Note to Self by Connor Franta. I know Connor Franta has a YouTube channel. I'm sure he's hilarious and sweet because his voice in his it's basically a diary, kind of, is so sweet. One second, my friend is at the door. I gotta answer it. Note to Self by Connor Franta. So Connor Franta is very well known on YouTube, and I don't watch his videos. I'm sure he's hilarious because this book is basically an open diary. His voice in his book is so good. He's like the sweetest and most hilarious person, and while this is basically like his thoughts put into a book, not like his memoir. I haven't read the memoir, I just know of it. There's a lot of poetry that he's written in here. There's pictures that he's taken, little blurbs that he's written, as far as like actual thoughts that take like essays and stuff. During the time I was reading this, I needed it. I mean, I went on vacation in Hawaii for a good reason. I've mentioned this channel to heal and find myself. And for this, like, Connor really discusses like yourself and what he believes in morals and thoughts, and during the heartbreak that he talks about, he puts it beautifully in his poems, and his pictures, like, even for a YouTuber, how good he is in his photography is pretty fantastic. I very much love this one. I can't say a bad thing on it, honestly, and I'm also unbiased 'cause I don't watch his YouTube videos. I don't know of him. I only know his name, but I think that if you're a lover of poetry and art, and maybe you do like Connor Franta, definitely pick it up. I don't regret this purchase. It was just like the most darling thing. And I very much will probably read more if he comes out with more books because this was lovely. I don't know what else to say about it. Now the next book that I read is Rest in Mourning by R.H. Sin. R.H. Sin makes very well-loved poetry, and I've only read this one by him. Now that I have read this, I do want to pick up more of his work. I eyed a lot of copies at Barnes & Noble when I was working there. A lot of people would purchase Wine and a Shovel. I don't know if that's the title, something about Wine and a Shovel or whatever. This is Rest in the Morning is mourning a breakup. As you guys know, I'm on vacation deal. But I did go through a breakup, and it's nice putting it like in poetry and just like absorbing it and saying, this is exactly how I felt back then. This is how I feel back then. And I did cry like a little bit in this book because like he has such a way, or she, I don't know if it's a he or she, has such a way with words, and it just touched my heart. I don't know how to explain it even better. And like all the poems flow together perfectly. There wasn't a poem I didn't like, and I like that a lot of it is like saying, it's like very self-assured, like don't answer his messages. He doesn't want more from you that you want. He's a dead person or whatever. Like, it's not what he wrote, but basically he has a way of putting feeling into his poems, and it really makes you feel and like absorb everything that you're actually, it's as if you're going through the breakup yourself, and it's very relatable. I don't think it's overly dramatic at all or unrelatable. I very much feel like people can get a kick out of this, and people who have experienced heartbreak or are experiencing heartbreak, definitely reading poetry like this can really make you feel like you're not alone and feel like this is normal, and probably give you some reassurance of like, you'll find better and like better times are ahead. And I don't know. I'm probably gonna give like every poetry collection 5 stars because I feel like there's, unless it's like really dragging or it's like not good, most poetry collections are like beautifully written and put together because it's poetry. How can you not like poetry? The last book I read on vacation in April when I was in Hawaii was The Girl in 6E by A.R. Tor? I don't know how to say her last name. The Girl in 6E is about this girl who's got murdering tendencies. So she locks herself in this apartment 6E, and she's a webcam girl to pay for like food and toiletries and stuff instead of going out. And she has someone who has a key to her place to make sure, like, locks her up at night to make sure she doesn't leave. So I'll quickly just tell you, I did not expect this to be as detailed as it was for her webcam videos, and you know, it's probably like a huge pro, but it's so detailed that I would almost label this erotica, and I love tons of kinds of books. I do not like erotica. It is not my cup of tea. I don't know, but it's like so detailed that it just made me like uncomfortable because, like I said, I don't like erotica. But I'm sure for anyone else who doesn't mind that aspect will probably really appreciate it, because like every chapter talks about a different kind of fetish and different kind of porn that people like and different kind of like things. It's very educational and it puts a good perspective on webcam girls, but like I said, at the same time, it was like erotica borderline, and I didn't think this was gonna be like this. I know that Katie from Chapter Sex read this book and highly loved it. At least I think she loved it. If I am overpraising it and thinking that she overpraised it, then fine. But she mentioned this, and it's suspenseful because while this is all going on, there's like a creepy person who she webcams who is like borderline pedophilia, and she's worried that he's actually going to go out in life and actually hurt a little girl. So it gets very suspenseful in the novel. You kind of like are on your toes, like what's going to happen, what's next, what will the ending be like. And I have a lot of admiration for the main character because she kind of does play the big part of the hero. She gets out of her shell eventually and is like, I'm going to go do this. I'm going to be the hero in the story, which I liked. And the ending didn't wrap up nicely. It was kind of left-handed, like as in, it was left hanging. You'd think that, you know, you'd get some kind of resolution. Does she officially go out of her shell? Does she get better? Blah, blah, blah. I don't know if that happens without being spoilery, but it is wrapped up nicely in the sense that there's not like huge prominent questions, but there's enough for the second book, because there is a second book, to make you want to say, I hope what's going to happen. Like, is she gonna finally stop with her murdery tendencies, or does she not change or whatever? So I liked it. Thought it was good. Not gonna keep it myself, but yeah, the whole erotica thing just was not my cup of tea. Still worth the read though. I feel like it was interesting enough. It kept me on my toes, and I read it in like a whole day because I couldn't get enough of it. So definitely a good one if you can look past the webcam chats and stuff. Yeah, those were all the books I read on vacation. I think that was a total of like 5 or 6 books or whatever, which wasn't too bad for 3 weeks. It wasn't as much as I would like to have read, but for being on vacation and reading, it's pretty great. And these are pretty good reads for my month. I mean, I can't complain about them. They were good. Yeah, what did you read in April? I would like to hear your thoughts down below. If you read any of these books, do you listen to Conrad Franta? Do you like erotica? What did you read in April? Let me know. Let's actually like have discussions in the comments, because that'd be cool. Sometimes I feel like I'm talking to myself here. Anyways, I will see you guys later. Thank you for tuning in my video, and bye!